Let's talk about Leica. In particular, we're gonna talk about the Leica M6 and how it started as a fairy tale and I was in for a rude awakening. So for the first time since I was 16 years old, I was going back to New York City, and the intent of this trip was to join my buddy Ben for an open door helicopter ride. We'll get to that in a minute. Prior to departing for Manhattan, this beauty came in the mail. And with it, I purchased a lens that y'all honestly roasted me for in the comments, and thank you for doing this because it was absolute and I hated it. So let's get to the point of this. Our journey started just like any other American flight should, with a little Java from America's finest. Y'all know I'm bullshitting, right? Because, yeah.
Is this a good thing?
Once we finally made it to Manhattan, I pulled out the Leica, full of zest and energy and excited to take on Manhattan on film. Things were going great. I had loaded the obligatory Portra 400 for the M6's inaugural shoot. After taking this out of focus image and eating a quick lunch, it was time for us to head to the promised land. That is B&H Photo headquarters in Manhattan.
What a bummer. Came all the way here.
Can't make this up. Can't make it up. So I didn't get to see the conveyor belts in action. We quickly realized that a short walk from B&H headquarters was the vessel. Keeping an eye on the clock, we knew we needed to make our way to Jersey so we could do our open door helicopter ride. Now, once we got to Jersey, it felt a lot like Jersey sounds. Our Airbnb couldn't get in for a little while. It was really hot, and I think that's kind of a theme for this whole trip, it was really flippin' hot.
Hey, Ben.
What's up?
What you shooting with?
That's not awkward.
Are they gonna let us in?
We finally made it into our Airbnb, which had no air conditioning, or central air conditioning for that matter. And so while we waited for the window unit to catch up, Ben showed me around his Fuji X100V. And we actually recorded a video on this shortly after this trip. You should check that out. Doing a quick comparison, it was fun to take a look at the Leica M6 versus his Fuji X100V JPEG just straight out of camera. And then he actually applied a film simulation to that same image. This next part is not about the Leica M6, so I'm not sorry. Being able to go in an open door helicopter over Manhattan, it was extremely windy. You were able to full on just hang out of the helicopter and take in all that Manhattan has to offer. A phenomenal experience thanks to Fly Nyan. Just kidding, they didn't sponsor me. If you want to sponsor me, that'd be great. But I paid Fly Nyan for my experience. Anyway, here's a couple of my favorite images from the flight. And mind you, this was a very difficult shooting environment. It was dark, it was so windy. And again, hanging out of a helicopter, your camera is bouncing all around. It was something else. Back to film. I did snap a couple of photos after the flight as well as after dinner. They're not that great, but whatever, it's fine. The next morning, it was necessary for me to get my daily dose or injection of the South. And we went for what I would argue are some of the best biscuits in Manhattan.
That's what I'm talking about. What are we talking about? Talking about biscuits, baby.
Then Ben took this ugly photo of Jackie and I. Thanks, Ben. Another theme in Manhattan is that just a stone's throw away from where you are is bound to be something really cool. So after breakfast, looking at the map, we realized that the Ghostbusters, the actual location of the Ghostbusters filming, was a block away. So we had to go. Wow, look at how stupid that lens looks. So I mentioned it was hot. It was very, very hot on this trip, and we walked a lot, as one does in Manhattan. So while Ben shopped for really expensive shoes, I'd blown through my Portra 400 and it was time to do the switcheroo. So I opted for, I'd argue, one of my favorite film stocks, Kodak Gold 200.
What'd you call him?
Dad. Dad.
Sweaty and dehydrated, it was time to head to Brooklyn on our way out to JFK for none other than barbecue. Because why not continue to clog our arteries before we get on an airplane?
I will.
Now you're probably wondering, Mallory, since you did the switcheroo at the shoe store, where were the images from the Kodak Gold 200? Well, this is where the love story goes south. I fully expected when I started my analog journey that with my Canon AE1 program, for example, when I loaded that first roll of film for me in my lifetime, I thought for sure I was gonna blow it. I didn't. When I was loading my Hasselblad that's behind me, 120 film, didn't blow it either. However, roll number 2 on the Leica M6, I loaded incorrectly. So all 36 exposures of beautiful Manhattan that I captured with my M6, gone, black. Actually, they're really all baked on top of one another on one single image, and how the I managed to do that is beyond me. Photography is as much about having good outcomes as it is from learning from the bad ones. While I am always incredibly hard on myself, I expect not perfection, but I expect good outcomes. This was a humbling and eye-opening opportunity for me. I have the process of loading film in the M6, I feel like, down to a science now, because once you make a mistake like that, especially the cost of film. At least it was the Kodak Gold and not the Portra 400. But alas, thank you for tuning in to this wild 24 hours in New York City with the Leica M6. I'm incredibly excited to bring you more analog adventures from this camera and others. So if you're looking forward to that, hit the subscribe button. A like is also awesome as well. Wishing you proper film loading, clear skies, beautiful sunsets, happy shooting, all of the above. We'll catch you on the next one.
Five flights of stairs. Let me open the door.